Hey, this is Shauna from She's Got Assets. If you're there, let me know. I'm just gonna go live, gonna do a few things here. So just bear with me for a second. But good evening. I have a fun little presentation for you guys tonight. And just trying to find my windows here. Oh my gosh, where are all my windows? Okay, Facebook Live. Here we go. I was ready. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, go live. All right, just going to give it a software a second to kind of catch up with me. I hope everyone's having a good day. Hey, oh my gosh, I think it worked. Good evening, everyone. This is Shauna from She's Got Assets. I am going to do my usual live stream tonight. Just going to let everyone know that I'm live. So if you're here, let me know. So I'm not just talking to myself. Hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. I'm going to dive into a little presentation. I'm going to give people like a few minutes to hey Jonathan, thanks for tuning in. A few minutes to kind of join us. Maybe if everyone can kind of introduce themselves, let me know where you're calling in from. Maybe let me know, like, yeah, a win for the day, something like that. It's always fun. Hey Jonathan, I've got some really juicy numbers to share tonight. You'll appreciate this, hopefully. Yeah, just got like a fresh lead too. So yeah, I'm just gonna give everyone like a minute or two to let the algorithms know when you guys comment. It kind of lets the algorithms know that we're live and more people can join and hopefully get some value. So yeah, I'm so glad this actually worked. You never know, it's always a little bit iffy. But tonight, I'm going to be talking about, let's see, I guess, can everyone see me and hear me too? Because sometimes that doesn't always work. Hey, Michelle from San Antonio, Texas. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. I know we all have busy lives. Hey, Leslie from Houston. Hey, Misty. Hey, how's it going? All right, you guys ready for some juicy case studies tonight? If you can't hear me, I'm gonna maybe just type a 1 if you can hear me and see me, okay? So I know, but you don't have to like read my lips or something. Like, um, okay. If I don't hear anything, I'm gonna assume so. So tonight, I'm gonna do some case studies. I talk about this a lot, but I think like showing the receipts, as they say these days, I guess, just helps me. Sometimes I'm even blown away by some of these case studies. I'm like, these are real numbers and we're really helping families. Awesome, Misty. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Well, hey, John. Still fired up after your event. John had like the best event. I got to meet Pace Morby and ask him a silly question. It was really awesome. So I felt like he was like a celebrity in town that John Robinson brought to town. So super awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dive in. Again, if you have questions as they pop up, just pop them in the box, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, and I'm in the wrong place, of course. So let me like rewind my presentation. Just give me 1 second here. I got to find what screen I'm actually on. And I just I just closed it out. So just bear with me here. Just, yeah, let me know if you guys want to hear about case studies and while I get my figure out where I'm going here, because I had it all, I swear I was all set up and I just closed out the wrong window. Okay, let's see. I'm going to reopen it and then I will get going. Just 1 second. Okay, so we're going to share screen, present. Let's say share screen. Just give me, it's a couple clicks on my end here. Hopefully this works. Okay. Again, can you guys see the screen? Oh, it's in the right place too. See, it's progress. I'm just going to check the comments to make sure you guys can actually see my presentation, just so you can kind of follow along. Again, as you're going, if you get any takeaways, like drop them in the chat. I think it like helps you remember. It's really helpful for me. Yeah, John, the proximity event was amazing. I came home and felt like I asked a really silly question, but there was so much value in it. So thanks for letting me do that. And what I asked for anyone listening was I kind of asked, like, how do I build a community? And, you know, of course, Pace, he was so down to earth and so approachable for like the star that he is in the movement that he's built. He basically said, you need to build a movement, which is what I'm trying to do. And I really want people to own assets, maximize them. I'm so tired of hearing stories of people that have these like rentals and they're not even concerned about cash flow. I want people to own assets, buy assets, and actually have them cash flow, which is really my passion. So okay, so with that being said, I'm going to dive into my presentation here. So tonight I'm going to talk really specifically about some case studies, some receipts, because I think we often hear these numbers, and I'll cover some basics, a little bit about me if you haven't like joined a live stream, just so you know kind of where I'm coming from. If you've heard it, just just ignore it. Okay, hopefully this will work. And I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go into present mode. So one second, a lot of clicks. Present, let's hope this works. Okay, did that work? Yeah. Well, kind of. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So if I forward this, let's see if this works. This is not working. Yeah, okay. Um, just bear with me here. I don't know why that is not forwarding. There's always something with this stuff. Maybe it's a delay. If you guys can see like the about me screen, like let me know, because I don't think this is forwarding. I'm gonna stop sharing and try this again. Sorry, we'll just, nope. Okay, add the stage. Okay. It's like being at the eye doctor. Can you see it or not? It's just not forwarding for some reason. Interesting. All right, I'm just gonna remove and start over again. Stop screen. Okay. I promise I will get this sorted out. I'm gonna go present, share screen. I'm gonna try this one more time. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do it like this. Yeah, okay. All right, I think I did it. Sorry, you guys. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so the presentation, again, this is shown out. My group has just got assets. You guys are all in the group. That's how you're seeing me, unless maybe you're on YouTube. But I'm gonna kind of go over some GC case studies and go over some numbers. So although if you don't know me, just a little bit about me, right? This is kind of my shtick. So I like to say I was raised by capitalist hippies. Growing up, we ran the family vacation rental business. This is like completely pre Airbnb, right? We actually had like, an answering machine. We had a fax machine, like a paper calendar, very much old school. But I grew up kind of in the hospitality business, you could say, with constant turnovers and guests coming and lots of guest questions. So anyway, that's a little bit how I grew up. I'm originally from California, right? Never ever thought I'd own real estate. Very expensive market, right? It felt very unattainable, and like I would just always rent. And then I ended up in Portland a long time ago. I realized this is really going to date me. I've been a landlord for 20 years now. I've been at this a long time. I still love doing it. I'm still strangely passionate about it. So I have lots of stories I could tell, but I choose to focus on providing, stylish, comfortable housing for people and taking great pride in that. So I've been at this a long time. Used to be like really private that I was a landlord, because it's such a it's a hot issue. Affordable housing is really tricky, right? So I used to be really private. And then at one point I just started talking about it. And now I'm pretty much out there with it. And so far no one has judged me too bad. um, so before going into real estate full time, I had a boutique design studio. So my passion, really, my background is design and marketing and branding and that kind of stuff. So that's, and I think I bring that to real estate, specifically to marketing. So I've kind of been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole adult life. I did a lot of restaurant work back in the day, waitressing jobs, right? So kind of been an outside cat for the most part. And we live in Portland, Oregon. I know a lot of you are local. We live in Portland, Oregon. In Multnomah County specifically, I would like to mention that because everyone thinks I'm a little bit crazy. It's not a very landlord friendly place, but we have a mix of long-term and midterm rentals. I'm just going to check the comments to make sure you guys can see everything, because I was worried about that. And if any of this is resonating, like, let me know. That's super helpful. Okay, awesome, Misty. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, so this is kind of like a little bit about my crazy journey, right? Like I was in California. I just went through this huge breakup. This was a long time ago, right? And my friends had moved, were buying a property in Portland. I came to visit for a week. ended up deciding to buy a house kind of on a whim, very last minute. The prices were really cost effective back then. So then I bought a house, went back home. My friends helped me pack my U-Haul. My car broke down on the way up. They drove the U-Haul up. I got stuck in the small town with me and my cat in a hotel room doing like remote work for a client at the time. Anyway, I made it to Portland. They unpacked the U-Haul. I landed in my house. Was terrifying. It was like full of boxes. There was a basement. I was like scared of the basement. Anyway, this is my first little house and my little cat at the time. This is kind of this was my first investment. And this house subsequently bought like two other properties by leveraging the equity. So I'm very grateful. But it was certainly a journey. Lots of trips to Home Depot, leaving in tears. Not joking either. So that's a little bit how yeah, that's kind of the start of my journey. And then I feel like real estate is a fire hose of information of different strategies, right? There's so many things, especially with creative finance, which I love. But this is the picture of my son back in the day, right? It's just like this fire hose. And I feel like I've found the strategies that I love, and that's what I love coaching students on. So one of those specifically is like midterms, right? But it's typically a journey and you try different things out. And this is kind of what it feels like. This is a little montage of, right, where I'm at. And now I have a podcast, right? And all that content. So that's a little bit about me. Hope that wasn't too boring. um, this is my family. This is a sweet dog Cookie and my two kids that aren't so sweet anymore. But back in the day, they were very sweet when they were little, right? These are all our properties, right? Um, okay, so I have a couple secrets I want to share with you, right? And I think people, these are things that I'm always talking about. You probably heard me say them, but I just like to reiterate to share some things. Hopefully, it's encouraging. And at the end of this presentation, I will go over the course that I have, but I always like to, add with as much value as I can. Hopefully, encourage people, share resources, share inspiration, right? But secret number one, and this sounds crazy. I've done it so many times. I've totally proven it. I've worked with students on it. You don't need to furnish your property to advertise and book your first guest. I've done this multiple times, just so you know, like, don't get hung up on that. Don't think you have to have this perfect property before you put the ad up or start networking, right, for leads. And the others, and this kind of ties into marketing, but I always just like to mention it, right? I am going to go over the case studies. Secret number two, I talked to a lot of people, and this was my experience. Short terms are, they're great. They can, like, short, when I say short term, I mean like Airbnb, Vrbo, those kind of things, guests coming in for a couple of nights. They're just a lot of work. You have extremely high maintenance guests. Typically, they're there on vacation. They can be demanding. They need a lot of communication, right? And yes, there is software for that, but in my opinion, midterms can be just as profitable without all the stress of that short term. And there is a hybrid strategy, but I just think that kind of we typically are weighing like long term and short term, and we forget about that sweet spot in the middle, which is midterms, in my opinion. Secret number three, maybe not so secret. You can really maximize your cash flow like with one property, right? When I hear someone say like I'm getting 200 a month or I'm not even cash flowing, that just like kills me, because I'm like, I think we should be investing, for cash flow and appreciation and tax benefits. I mean, all the things that we love real estate for, but I'm really passionate about, having cash flow and having that asset support itself and support you, right? Because it's work, right? So those are my top secrets, right? And I also think that we are in the midterm specifically, we are really in the hospitality business. It's a people business. We are providing experiences and housing for people, right? So if you haven't heard me say that, I'm spilling all the secrets tonight. If anyone can resonate that, like maybe drop a comment, like, what do you think of that? Because to me, took me a while to figure that out, but I believe those are all true. So, okay, I don't see any comments, but as I'm going along, please let me know. It really helps me know that you guys are getting some value from this. So we're going to break down midterm rentals really quickly. Essentially, medium term, midterm rental, it's just a 30+ day stay in a fully furnished property, right? That's the gist of it. Kind of like an Airbnb, but guests are staying hopefully a couple months, right? And then they often extend, right? So if you haven't heard of the concept, that's really what this is in a nutshell. And this is like kind of MTR life, why I like it. We have a lot more cash flow with less stress, only a couple turnovers a year, right? Versus the constant short-term rentals of people in and out, constant cleanings, constant communications. When something breaks, you need to fix it like right away. Again, like way less turnover. We're avoiding all those pesky STR regulations that can change on a dime. They could be legal and then all of a sudden there's some, some changes to regulations and they're not legal. So you really don't have to worry about that with midterms. Unless you're in like an HOA or something, make sure you know your local laws. But and I think it gives you a lot of expandability, right? And we can make rentals cash flow in a pretty expensive market where single family long term just does not cash flow. Um, so I get this question a lot, like, what property types are good for midterms? They all work. Like, yes, there are traveling nurses, but there is a much wider audience, right? So if you're catering to traveling medical professionals, right, we're looking at the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, or 2 bedroom, 1 bath, right? And the sweet spot for me is like a larger home, 3, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, ideally single level, right? Or at least a bedroom on the primary level for accessibility issues, right? And with the case studies I'm going to show you with these, we are helping families. They're families that have been displaced due to like a fire or a flood in their home. So, and it's kind of more of a B2B strategy, right? Because we're network working with temporary housing companies who are working with insurance companies. So I'm curious, I'd love to know in the chat, like, has anyone heard me talk about the midterm, excuse me, the insurance strategy, or is anyone like familiar with that? I'm just curious, so I kind of know who I'm talking to. I can kind of tailor it. Like, just drop a one in the chat if you've heard of it, and a two if you haven't, and I can just kind of tailor um, a little bit to that. That's super helpful if you want. Um, okay. So I will just kind of give a really brief overview. I don't see any comments yet, so I'm going to give like a quick overview, right? So this is kind of the 7 steps for getting a midterm contract, or what people go through, right? There's a lot of steps in it and it could be complicated, and there's a lot that goes into it. So in my experience, it's helpful to have someone kind of walk you through it and guide you and coach you on how to price and even how to get the leads and how to get found, right? So really high level here, and I'm really oversimplifying this, right? Just to give you context for the case studies I'm going to show you, because they sound really high, and I want to give you context for how we got them and how the process works. So like a life event happens, right? Like typically I hear a lot of water damage, like a dishwasher broke or it wasn't, installed correctly, something leaked, a pipe burst, right? Or maybe there's a fire in the home, some kind of disaster happens with the family. That family reaches out to their insurance, right? All the typical ones like State Farm, Progressive, right? And they file a claim, they have an adjuster involved. And just a tidbit, there are public adjusters that will really advocate for you, and it's often worth looking into having a public adjuster. But so the family files a claim, the adjuster comes out, and typically the family will get put up in a hotel. And every case is a little bit different. It's a little nuanced, that when you think about it, a family, a couple kids, a dog and a cat, maybe another animal, being in a hotel is really not that comfortable. So it's typically a very short stay. And then insurance, right? They are not housing providers. So they partner up with a temporary housing companies, like ALE is one of the biggest ones, right? And then sorry, I didn't have my things turned off. Sorry about that. They they partner with like temporary housing companies. So when we say insurance claims, we are really talking about they're partnering with temporary housing companies. Sometimes the family will reach out directly, but typically we have like a temporary housing company reach out, and they have what are called relocation specialists, and they're the ones like hunting for the houses. They're the ones that are going to reach out to you. They're going to ask you, what is your price? A tip, it can be more than what you advertise, and there's a strategy behind that, because they're often coming in much shorter leases. So they're going to ask for a proposal, right, which we're going to send them back to them. We're going to kind of negotiate the price, go back and forth, make sure it fits the family's budget. Then it goes to the adjuster, right? This is like a process. There's a lot of parties involved. The adjuster will approve it or maybe negotiate. And then we do all our paperwork and lease signing and screening and all that stuff. So there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes. This is like a very high level overview. So I'd be curious, just let me know if any of that is kind of resonating. Hey, Brett. Hey, Michelle. Michelle, you do currently. Awesome. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I mean, it's a very niche within a niche. Sometimes people have heard of it, and often I speak when I'm working with students or people are inquiring, they don't really know how to get listed or where to get listed. I think the beautiful thing about the strategy is it's more of a B2B business, meaning business to business versus business to consumer, right? Like when you have an Airbnb, you just have guests coming, you have consumers staying with you with this insurance specific strategy. You're developing relationships with temporary housing companies, with other operators. And so it's more of a B2B strategy. You get repeat business, it's relationship based, right? So that's why I really like it. So that is like the really high level overview. I'm going to stop there and see if there's any specific questions on that because there's a lot of pieces that go into it. And every case is a little bit nuanced. Like I always ask questions. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to help families out. But just know that there's a lot of parties involved in it, and there's just a lot of steps. So it's helpful to have someone like walk you through it. So I don't see any questions, so I'll keep going. All right, so here's some example inquiries. And this is like one that just came in. It's a fresh lead, right? So again, the adjusters will need to approve your proposal, right? And this one, it's about 8250 a month, and this is for like it's a 3-2, right? And so long term rent would be about 3,000, right? And they're going to stay a couple months. So these are the kind of numbers we're talking about, right? And they often will extend. This came in like 5:06 p.m. This is the fresh. I've been working on. I have a relationship with this temporary housing company, right? That I've developed. So here's some other kind of numbers. You don't often get the budget. I would say typically you don't. You always kind of want to ask, like, do you know what their budget is? And when I make a proposal, I'm always making sure, like, hey, like I'll work with you, right? You don't want to price yourself out, but there's definitely a lot of strategy that goes into it that I cover when I'm working with students and in the course. And sometimes they will rent unfurnished. I don't get a lot of unfurnished leads, and I kind of like being able to charge a premium for furnished and not having furniture banging in and inside of rentals, right, in and out of rentals. So 6,200, right? This is 9K a month. They all come in from different places. We're not going to cover marketing in this kind of case study focus training, but these are just some numbers to kind of explain why I'm so obsessed with midterm rentals. Here's another one. This was an Airbnb one, a 28K booking, right? Almost 30K basically, right? This is another one that I got recently. This was a direct with the family, which is a little bit unusual, but they are actually approved for 25K a month, right? A month, right? Let's say that again, 25K a month. They're looking to stay between 12 and 13K a month, right? This is definitely very high-end property. And they're looking to stay for 3 to 4 months, right? So these are actual receipts. These are actual inquiries. Again, they come in all different ways, but you need to be marketing yourself in the proper way to kind of get these leads. I'm just checking the comments here. So let me know what you guys think of those numbers. You want to get how would that, how would that affect your life if you had a couple of properties making 8,200 a month or 9K a month, right? Pretty awesome. So now I'm going to go over some case studies, and I'll kind of go over quickly. If you want to work with me more, we can talk about that and do some Q&A. So this is a case study. It's a townhouse. It's like literally in our neighborhood. We bought it a couple years ago. It was actually there's a little ADU down here. You can see in the picture. This is our first Airbnb. It took me forever to set it up, and it was fun for a couple years, but it just got really old. And then the top is also a midterm I converted recently. So you can see kind of like the baseline. I always like to compare it to long-term, right? Right. So long-term, we're looking about at 3K for the upper unit, maybe 1,500. I think that's even pushing it because it's a 1-bedroom. It's like 300 square feet. It's pretty cozy. Midterm rent, like almost 7K, right? 2,200, right? So after all our expenses, right, we're looking at about a 5K. This is net, right? After all our expenses. So this is an example. This is one property, right? So when someone says like, hey, I'm getting 200 a door, right? That doesn't, right? There's so much more potential with midterm. Yes, it needs to be furnished, but there's ways to do that cost effectively. And we can get things rented before we're even furnished. So we're not putting that money out up front. So I'm just going to check the comments again. Okay. Don't see anything. All right. But yeah, let me guys know what you think of this. Sandra is saying goal 10K a month for 2 of my properties in America's Finest, San Diego. Yeah, I mean, that is a very expensive market. I think that's really reasonable. Yeah, I'd be curious what kind of properties you have. I mean, definitely this model is for the bigger properties, 4 or 5 bedroom, right? Ultimately, I feel like we're helping out families, right? And it's the best feeling. So it's really a win-win. It's great cash flow, and we're helping out families who have been displaced. And they're always so grateful. And we always really try and go above and beyond to accommodate like a crib or moving desks around or whatever it is. So yeah. That's awesome. That's the thing about this model. I think you can have a small but mighty portfolio. I think we're taught as investors initially, like to have like 100 doors and, to actually be able to meet those passive income goals so you can maybe leave your W-2 or whatever your goals are, right? So, okay, I'll move on to the next case study. This is a little duplex, really sweet duplex. I bought it off market, zero down, rehabbed it. I was gonna go long term, honestly, because I was like, got enough midterms. I put it out there. I did my market testing. I didn't love the leads I was getting. I kept having to lower the price. So I did my virtual staging thing and I put it out there and I got both sides fully booked before it was even furnished. And it was a mad dash to furnish it. Basically had to rate our kitchen, rate our house. Like we're still low on forks after that. I think we've restocked them, but yeah, it's always a fun challenge to furnish something quickly. And I love getting stuff booked before it's even furnished, right? Or even, too far along. So you definitely can do that. So after everything, it's about 1,800, right? Net, this cash flow. This is net right after all our expenses, right? And this is a little duplex and it's a studio and a 1 bedroom. So, this is more going after traveling nurses, digital nomads, sometimes people in some kind of transition, but, all properties typically work. I see a question from Michelle. Do you hear some markets getting saturated? For example, San Antonio, we currently have 14 MTRs and starting to see a slowdown because most people. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, sorry, my phone. I think yes, there is saturation. I think a lot of Airbnb owners. Oh my gosh, see, my friends. She calls on FaceTime and she's very persistent, so she'll probably keep calling. Sorry, I'm gonna try and mute myself. So yes, I think it's getting more saturated, right? And I think, but here's the caveat. I think depending on the kind of property, if you're an Airbnb owner going over to midterm and you don't know how to market yourself, you're not in the databases, you're not going after insurance, yeah, you're going to be like, well, I'm not getting as many leads. But if you know how to market and the right kind of properties, there's typically always a demand for this. So I think it's more competitive, but I also think that, and I'm not in that market either. I'm just saying, I think that depending on how you market yourself and the kind of property you have, that really helps, but it is getting more competitive. The bar is getting higher. So, and again, I'm not in that market, but yeah, and I think there's plenty of room for it. I mean, this isn't a new model, right? Corporate housing has been around forever. People always need furnished housing, right? So it's not exactly new, it's just more on the map, but I still think there's a lot of opportunity personally. So great question. Yeah. Um, okay, this is another one. This is it's like kind of a duplex. It's not side by side, right? Again, this was one where our intention was to go long term with it. Didn't like the basement unit was a little bit just wasn't the nicest, right? So we ended up furnishing it and renting it out that way. And then I had the other side as a long term for a long time, and then I converted it. And again, I tested the market before I furnished it. So I got both sides booked before it was even furnished, right? And then I went ahead and furnished it. So like the cash flow is about 4,700 a month, right after all our expenses. But yeah, so and that's what I do often. If I'm kind of on the fence about midterm, I will market test it, and then I will, as soon as I have it, booked, then I'll go ahead and furnish it. And I like doing that because it feels like, I have the data to support the furnishing expense. I'm going to see if there's any other questions. Yeah, you're welcome, Michelle. No problem. Um, Okay, this is another one. This is a client that I actually kind of oversaw the rehab and did the furnishing for them, and that was fun. So this was like a 21K booking. I think long term we're looking at, it's a 2-1, right? It has a fenced backyard and it's a single level, which is really ideal, but it's only a 2-1. So I think long term would be about 2195, and after expenses, like you're cash flowing about 2400, which is really unheard of in a single family, right? If anyone is familiar with single family, like these are not numbers that you typically hear of, but even with short term, right? When you factor in all your expenses and all your turnover and all that stuff. So yeah, this is another one. It's about 2K cash flow, right? Long term would be about 30, little over 3,000, and midterm is 6,000, right? So cash flow about 2K, right? So, and this is another one. Again, it's about 2K cash flow. This is a townhouse. There is an HOA. I'm not a big fan of HOAs. You can work around them, but just know what their regulations are, know what like their pet policies are, right? But typically most properties work. There's just some nuance to what kind of property. But there's some amenities. So there's some popular amenities like a fenced yard, single level is ideal, a lot of things like that I've covered before and I cover in the course. But yeah, I'll miss this is another one. This is one of the larger properties that I co-host. It's a 5 bedroom, has a huge backyard, and we have it rented for about 4 months for 9,300 a month, which is a pretty good booking, right? So it's about 5K a month net cash flow, right? So that is yeah, that's pretty great off one property, right? I think when you have bigger properties, right, your options, you can STR it, we heads and beds, right? You can do pad split as another model depending on the style of property. But midterm was great. Like you're not having turnovers for a couple months with this. Yeah, so that's kind of the overview of the case studies. And I do, I coach students on this. I have the MTR playbook course and some other options. I'm really covering everything from soup to nuts, from market research to how to furnish, smartly with all the Amazon links, what you need, what you don't need. We don't need cold plunges and hot tubs, right? We do need to have nicely furnished properties and certain smart tech. And then I cover marketing really in depth, how to get these B2B leads, how to list, how to optimize, right? And then I go into operations and self management. There's a lot that goes into it, but I really packaged it up for people. I love working with students. So if you're looking for more, coaching and you really want it, you like these numbers, and maybe you have a rental you're considering converting, or you're in the short-term space and you're burnt out on the turnovers or whatever it is, like reach out. We'll just have a chat. I'll see where you're at. If it's a good fit, I will go into more detail. If it's not, no worries. But I definitely have really packaged up all my knowledge and enjoy working, one-on-one with students. So with that being said, type something in the chat if you want to learn more, book a call. And I have a few more minutes for Q&A if anyone has questions. I'm happy to answer them. Anything's for a game. But anyway, yeah, but thanks for tuning in on a Tuesday night. I don't know what time it is where everyone is. It's about like 5:45 Pacific time. But yeah, I hope that inspired you guys to think about midterms if you're not already in it. But I really just, there's a lot of reasons I love it. We're helping families. We have great cash flow. It's B2B, right? So we're developing relationships. We're not just relying on the next traveling nurse to come stay with us. We're developing relationships with temporary housing companies. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. But yeah, those are some numbers that I just wanted to share, because sometimes I'm even like surprised about those numbers, but they're out there. But yeah, anything's for a game. I'd love to know any takeaways you guys got, anything that was valuable. It's really helpful for me to know, anything you wanted me to dive into more. Just because I talk about this stuff like all day, sometimes I forget what people need to be reminded of. Sandra, 4 bedrooms, fully furnished. Yeah, are you doing rent by the room strategy, or yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know the context for that. I'm gonna see if I can see some more comments here. Let's see. I can't always see the comments after, so if I miss something, like feel free to repost it. Stella's asking how much is the guidance. Yeah, we can talk about the investment. There's a couple options on it depending on what if you want more like one-on-one coaching, or I also have kind of a more of a DIY option. So I'll message you after, we can kind of go over that investment. But yeah, there's a couple options just depending on like what you're looking for and how much coaching you need. But my goal is that it pays off, 10x, right, what the investment is, because there's a lot that goes into this. So good question. Or book a call and we can go over it, right, and just see where you're at, see if it's even a good fit. It's some people just need a little tips, or they need, they really need the full recipe for how to get where they're trying to get to with their properties. So yeah. Any other questions? Happy to chat more. But yeah, I hope this inspired you guys to get into midterms. Again, if you're watching the replay, like feel free to always feel free to comment, or if you want to talk more about coaching or how to possibly work with me, if it'd be helpful, I can send a link to book a call and we could just kind of chat more. You're welcome, Stella. No problem. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I see a few more people on, so if there's any questions, like anything is game, furnishing, leases, advertising. I'm always happy to answer questions. And again, if you're watching the replay, you can definitely, I will follow up on any questions that you might have. I don't see any other comments. Somehow it's hard to see comments. Yeah, Facebook is a little persnickety when the view I'm in. So, um, yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, yeah, but I'd love to know like what just maybe drop some insight you got, some kind of gem that you got. It really helps. It motivates me to keep doing this and keep sharing knowledge. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Awesome. Um, you're welcome, Misty. No problem. Yeah, it's always fun to see students on here too. I really appreciate that. Yeah, well, I hope, like, yeah, let me know if there's any other topics that you're interested in, right? There's a lot of things I can cover and go more. I mean, I can't cover everything, right, in a quick training, but there's topics that you're like, hey, I really want to know more about this. I feel like what people struggle with most is typically like marketing and leasing and, how to screen and things like that, which we do cover in the course, but I'm happy to answer any quick questions about that because there's a lot of pieces, right? So it helps to have a coach by your side, kind of helping you navigate all of that. Um, hey, Debbie, thanks for tuning in. Debbie's getting her first marketing campaign. I'm so excited. She's a student. We had a great session this weekend, pulling her first list, going to tired landlords. Super exciting stuff. Yeah, and if anyone doesn't like have a property yet, I also have the REI playbook where I, coach students in how to find off-market properties and, creative deal structure and things like owner carry, stuff like that, which I'm really passionate about. So if you don't have a midterm and you want to get into investing and want to figure out how to get off-market properties without cold calling or door knocking or sending spammy SMS campaigns, that's something I coach too. So awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions. Last call. I'm going to sign off. Again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to kind of hang out with me tonight. I appreciate it. I know everyone is very busy and has a lot of stuff going on. So hope I left with you with some value or at least some inspiration on why midterm is a really great option for the right kind of property, right? Like I really feel like there's in real estate we have this toolbox of exit strategies, right? And it has to be the right thing. It's not right for every property. There's pros and cons to everything, but I really believe this is the secret sauce for like the cash flow, having an income producing asset, getting you closer to your goals, helping people out, helping families, right? There's so many things I love about it. You're welcome, Leslie. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, I clearly it's my soapbox about midterms. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Again, if you're watching the replay, feel free to chime in. Let me know what value you got. And if you're interested in learning more about the coaching program, we'll get on a call. We'll just see where you're at, see if it's a good fit, and then we can go over how I could work with you and all the options. So I'm gonna run. My son has Taekwondo class. I'm gonna make sure he's getting ready. But again, I really appreciate your time. That means a lot that you guys tune in and ask questions like you have no idea, because otherwise I just feel like I'm talking to myself. So thanks again for tuning in. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment. I will go through that and follow up with anyone that is interested in working with me. And that's what I do. And yeah, have a great evening, you guys. I will catch you next week. Thanks.